Okay, we're just getting everything going for our Presence Retreat, day 5, where we get to look at how and 2 wings to take flight. Okay, we're just getting everything going for our Presence Retreat, day 5. Sorry, I have to click on it and then I have to mute it. Okay, everyone's settling in here. Oh, I lost someone on Zoom. Oh, here they come. All right, welcome to day 5 of the Path to Presence Retreat, 2 wings to take flight. And this is where we really get to look at how. And as I mentioned early on, how is often the only question people think to ask when it comes to meditation. How do I, in a way, how is a very useful question, a very versatile question for sure. But I've saved this for last. Starting slow and simple and showing up. I like to kind of sort of finish on the how. Although a note too that this is the 5 days, but I do offer these 2 extra bonus days because it is kind of hard to squeeze everything into 5 days, unless I was doing like a long time or something. So I will be having a bonus live Q&A tomorrow, Saturday, the live piece anyway, at 9:30, 1 hour later than the usual time if you're in a different time zone, 1 hour later, just so I don't have to rush my husband out of bed. It's purely a kindness, and me too, yeah. So 1 hour later than usual, come, it's a chance for me to hear your voices a little bit more. This is sort of a little bit more webinar format where it's a little more one-sided, but I like the opportunity to hear from you, although I always welcome your comments, of course. And then Sunday, there's nothing. It's good time to sort of either see how you show up for yourself or to take a break at 8:30, a bonus day, which will also have a replay available on why not. So we go from why, we kind of end with obstacles and limiting beliefs and some troubleshooting. All right. And so kind of a weird screen share. I didn't quite have the time and forethought to make a slideshow of some of the images, but I'm going to share a couple of the images. Anyone? There we go. Of some of the images people have sent in of some of the spaces that they have going meditation. This was someone's question in the playroom, and this is a really nice comfy chair with, you can see the blanket and the pillow, got a few things going, a few things ready. And someone else posted this park nearby, sort of an outdoor option as well. And here's another way of creating environment with some nice lighting next to, a little bedside table kind of situation, but that light can make a difference. I didn't mention that, of course. And sorry to all the interior designers, folks like that out here, but lighting, of course, makes a huge difference in our environment. And here I liked that someone in the homework posted a place they were thinking about trying but hadn't tried. And I didn't put Vanessa sent me an email. I wasn't quite organized with all the pictures. Sometimes that's like a little too much getting it from everywhere. But someone else also posted a photo of doing practice on a yoga environment. See, I forget to mention all kinds of things. So that's why I really like to hear from everyone about what they're doing as well. So you can still post those images. I think it can be really helpful to sort of see how people are making it their own, how they are. So yoga ball outdoors as well that you might like to be in, that's easy to get to. These are all really helpful things. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about how. Let me look at my flow, and then I'm probably going to just briefly recap some of that and like a little summary here. And how you want to remember the first day, why we looked at some of those myths, one of which was the idea that there is one right way to meditate. So we're challenging that when we try and think about which techniques might benefit you most in terms of the benefits you're seeking. There are many, many, many different styles of meditation, techniques of meditation. Many of them offer slight, and I haven't mentioned this before, but I have an ongoing meditation circle that meets every Wednesday evening Eastern time. So for some of you, that might be morning. And we've been meeting for almost a year, and we just explore different practices. And we might take, today we're going to do in our meditation practice today, we're going to do a rain practice, which is one of my favorites. And we've been doing a rain practice in slightly different ways since August, September, October. We did like 3 months, kind of a deep dive into this practice. Sometimes, in the springtime, we did a lot of sensory-based practices, because I feel like in the spring the senses come online and things become alive. You get that? So anyway, that is something else that I offer as well. So we have all these different styles, all these different ways of meditating. I don't even cover all of them because, I'm not as much in my practice, but a lot of people benefit from that. So there's so many different styles, and you want to kind of really think about, keep your eye on the why and what benefits you're seeking. And also really getting in the practice of pausing at the end of a practice and noticing how you feel, noticing the impact of a practice on you, noticing what shifts might occur, many of which we cannot predict until we actually do the practice. And and then maybe having a community or a journal to kind of reflect on, to take it a little bit deeper that way. That can be really helpful. So some of the different practices, and in my little 6-week program, I say little, but I suppose 6 weeks is not that little. It's a lot longer than 5 days. Yeah, it's long. In the 6-week practice, we also go through a bunch of these. But again, I don't cover everything, right? There's just so much out there. It's like reading all the books in the world. There is insight practices, sort of more mindfulness-based practices, more compassion-based practices. These all awaken different parts of the experience of being alive. And even from these first 4 days of practice, thinking about which practice has resonated with you most. We did some sitting with movement, with the eyes open, with sound, sort of that shifting from doing into being, connecting to the breath, the self-compassion work. We've done even more than 4 practices because I like to sometimes put them in together. So yeah, we'll also include in the 6-week calm mind, clear heart, some of the walking meditation that I mentioned, and more in meditation, like better at that, more self-compassion practices. There's a Tibetan, of course, loving kindness meditation practices. So all different styles of practice, and with a robust 2 wings of practice. The 2 wings of practice are wisdom and compassion. And these 2 wings help to free us from the trance of being disconnected or being unaware. In some ways, it's a little bit of the mind and heart, the clear mind of the wisdom style of practices, where you really just kind of priming the awareness, working with clarity, insight, but then compassion as well. Wisdom, insight, cultivate some balanced perspective, but compassion includes the sense of belonging and connectedness, opening your heart to suffering in yourself and others. And when compassion isn't informed by wisdom, it turns to pain. And too much wisdom becomes colder and intellectualization. So we really need to find that balance. So that's how, in terms of all the different styles surface of, right? And of course, let's see, do I go into this one? I've changed my retreat over the 10 times I've done it. So I'm trying to remember where this part is. Yeah. I do encourage, I'm not sure if this is this part of the practice, but I do encourage you to make use of not only here, where I have a free practice in the Facebook group every Monday, but all the apps that are out there that offer some guided meditation. You can find things on YouTube. You can join a community, whether it's something like the one I offer, the Seaside Meditation Circle, Calm Mind, Clear Heart, or maybe local to you, or there's a lot of different communities out there as well. So I encourage you to continue that sort of beginner's mind. Ultimately, with a meditation, is to show up and pay attention. So first job is showing up, taking our seat, arriving, being present, right? And then paying attention, just noticing, and that includes how things resonate with you, how things shift for you, all this kind of stuff. So I also want to talk for a moment about how, in terms of how long. When I first started doing this retreat, I did a whole day just on how long. I used that question. And that is another question people often ask. And time, and then how long, how to actually, I mentioned that you want to really start simple. So you might have like a target time. Your ideal practice that you want to have would be, say, 20 minutes sitting every day, or 20 minutes twice a day, whatever it might look like. Again, there's no one right way. Just using 20 minutes as an example, because it's a common one. You want to actually not start with 20 minutes or even 10 minutes, but start with like a fraction. Start with like sitting 4 minutes. And as I mentioned, you want to sort of master that habit of showing up, paying attention, but the showing up part is important. And we need to think of our practice as a habit, and to sort of enforce it, and to make it enjoyable, make it obvious, some of those kinds of things. And remembering also, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. So you want to revisit how to manage expectations of yourself, how to not just push through, cultivating some compassion for yourself when it's hard to show up. The act of sitting is more important than how long. Sitting longer isn't always better for you, and you don't have to sit 30 minutes every day to get something out of it. And another way to think of it, just sort of a purely numbers way to think of it, is you have a 24-hour day, 1% of that time is 14.4 minutes. So kind of really thinking about your time and what you're giving to, and if that works for you, that quantitative, thinking of a pie graph here. And I also would encourage you to allow yourself to vary the length of time, or even to think about doing more frequent, shorter sits. I think a lot of people, it's not exactly a myth of meditation, but a lot of people think to sit and meditate, to have meditation practice, means you're sitting on the floor in the morning with your eyes closed for like at least 30 minutes every day. And then you can call yourself a meditator. But actually, it might look quite different, right? You might be sitting in a chair with your eyes open, or doing a walking meditation, and you might be doing little 10-minute chunks throughout the day. That can work as well, right? So it's, have fun with it. Be curious about it. So varying the length of time is really helpful because it keeps us engaged. It kind of keeps things a little bit fresh, right? Because we want to make a habit and continue to be paying attention when we show up as well. So sometimes varying the length of time. Even in my own practice in the last 15 years or so, I go through phases. use like an app I've been using, 10% Happier. I think they gave it, I work in a hospital, they gave it to us all for free during the beginning of the pandemic. So I think that's how it happened. And then I like to use a guided meditation and then continue to sit for silence. It's like an entry point. So there's a lot of different ways. You might want to guided meditation, you might want movement as a part of your meditation. The insight meditation timer is helpful if you're really trying to intentionally grow your practice, to be like, hey, I'm going to sit for 4 minutes every day this week. Today I'm going to sit for 10, right? And then the timepiece or having a timer, good old fashioned egg timer or something like that. And so, so having variation in the length of time, keeping it simple, starting where you're at, being realistic with your expectations. Another important thing, which I have mentioned a little, is having a minimum effort, or this kind of baseline time. So I mentioned before, sometimes the bare minimum might be 3 mindful breaths, or it might be 3 minutes of meditation. It might be something like that. And this is helpful for those days when life is really crazy, or you're really not feeling well, because ideally we want to continue to show up. So we want to have this really, make it really easy, really attainable pace, have this minimum effort. I mentioned before, 2-day rule. If you miss 1 day, it's an accident. If you miss 2 days, it's a new habit. My friend over here, Giovanni, from this book, likes to talk about the never zero commitment. I think it's a very effective strategy. It doesn't necessarily completely work for me because I need something that's very flexible, but I want to share it because I think it's really effective. The never zero commitment is small commitment that's time bound, like I'll meditate for 5 minutes a day this week. But basically you want to always, you never have zero, right? You want to have some kind of baseline where you show up. And this helps you to avoid decision fatigue, right? Should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? How can I do it? 100% commitment is actually easier than a 99% commitment. So also remembering really to be compassionate with yourself, because life will get in the way. And so having a backup plan, having a baseline commitment, softening that all or nothing thinking. It sounds like a bunch of noisy landscaping may have started right out my window. So hopefully you guys can still hear me normally. Okay. Yeah. So we're practicing pausing. That can help to, as Giovanni says, pausing allows you to live by design, not by default. So the lovely thing is, I think the meditation practice helps us to practice pausing, right? We notice when we're able to open up more space in our lives, then it's easier to continue to open up space, because you have more meditation practice in your life and you're like, oh, it feels good. I feel more focused, as some people have said in the Facebook group. I feel more focused when I show up. I just feel better when I show up. You can feel those benefits, and those benefits, those rewards, starts to enforce the habit too. So making pausing even part of your meditation practice can help with continuing to show up as well. All right, and so remembering you can intersperse sitting and walking meditation. You might want to revisit habit stacking if you're having trouble really finding the right cues to, let's see, I'm trying to think really specific things. Like I think I liked when someone mentioned before in one of the retreats, closing their laptop when they pause for lunch. Some kind of very small, specific thing that you can count on doing. That can be a cue for you to, okay, now this is the meditation practice. And remember the idea of letting go of other activities or other times, other habits that are not supporting you in being present, to make space for your practice. So building a habit is just the first half. The other half is maintaining it. So we're showing up and we're paying attention, and they kind of play off of each other. So I have here a couple of extra tips for forming habits and getting a sustainable regular meditation practice, making it very attainable, starting simple, short, well below manageable, using baby steps to help momentum. And then reinforcing the habit with reminders, really kind of taking the time to pause and think about how are you enforcing this habit? How are you sort of protecting even your meditation practice and kind of building it up? One thing I haven't mentioned yet is sometimes it helps to let others in your community or your household know about your practice too. You know, my husband knows I practice when he's doing bedtime reading to my son and kind of the end of the day. And when I'm teaching meditation or sometimes practicing, I actually have a little white noise machine that I put out in front of the door. It's like a signal to those in my house that, like, okay, if you can help it, don't interrupt me at this time. So, you know, you have to kind of protect your practice that way and really make sure you're reinforcing it. Don't forget, as basic as scheduling in your meditation on your calendar or with phone reminders and things like that. Reinforcing the habits socially, finding a community or a meditation buddy is helpful. Someone you can even just talk about meditation practice with, because you know sometimes struggles will come up as well. And that's nice to have that. And using all the other resources, you don't have to go it alone. Make it easy for you to keep showing up. Another tip is making commitments, making those commitment statements or what's called an implementation intention. I believe that is the homework for today. To kind of put everything together, the when, the where, all those kinds of things, and make a plan for your meditation. Also making a backup plan. Sandy's chiming in here. I found it most helpful to do it first thing in the same place. Oops, chat went away. First thing in the same place and build it up, build on that practice. Yeah. So starting simple, like something you can master, something kind of regular, consistent, and then you kind of get to build on it. True. I'd say keeping that curiosity, that beginner's mind is helpful all the time, right? We kind of go into like a nice rhythm, then we get to kind of open it up a little bit. First teacher referred to it as RPM, rise, P, meditate. That's good. I like that. I'll try to remember that one. All right, so if you make a commitment, or especially if you have a visible or you share it with others, that's both a visual reminder cue in that way and that sort of social reinforcement by sharing it with the community. And then you want to make those contingency plans, the backup for when life inevitably gets in the way, and allow yourself to change, allow yourself to grow and your practice to grow with you. Right, the last thing, of course, the biggest tip here is to keep showing up. Try to make it daily or consistent, but allow yourself flexibility to scale it back when you need to vary the times that way, and to shift as your habits shift, kind of keeping an eye to that. And you can even schedule in reviews. So this meditation retreat, for now, I'm offering it yearly in the fall. I feel like it's a natural time after, at least the fall in the Northern Hemisphere. I know some people join from the Southern Hemisphere. For me, this is a great time to kind of start to really settle to, after summer, the great disruptor of summer, school starting or whatever might be starting. It just takes a little bit of time to start to like really engage on those kinds of things like habits and routines and things like that. So feel free to come to the next retreat if you need that annual reminder. A lot of folks have come before, which I appreciate, but also you could do that for yourself. You can take these questions, these tools, you set up almost like a performance review. That's a little corporate perhaps, but you might set up your own kind of assessment time to check in to if there are any tweaks you could make. All right, I'm pausing to look at something. And yeah, Sandy's chiming in the Zoom land here that the Rise P Meditate RPM might be a little childish, but she also used some external motivation like a sticker system in the beginning. Definitely do that if that helps, for sure. And 40 years ago, started listening to guided meditations on my lunch hour and on cassette. Yes, that's the cassette piece is a real like throwback there. Yeah, keep at it. Keep showing up. Use. I do have a list of resources, which I think I have it available in the Facebook group, but I could try to send it out email. Podcasts, definitely this time of things like cassettes, but there's so many podcasts out there. I really like listening to next podcast feature in the DC area, and our practice today, Dharma Talks called dharmaseed.org, and it has an app. And it's longer talks from meditation retreats. I've been listening to that while I walk the dog in the morning sometimes. Yeah, so I will try to send out the resources list. And then so a recap of today, I already kind of went through that, but the why, when, where, who, how. These lines of inquiry help you to consciously tailor your practice to what works for you practically in your life now and how it relates to the goals and what you're seeking and the type of person that you wish to become. And that was the homework for yesterday, the type of person you wish to become. So remembering to kind of hold that question in there. Okay, actually a nod to the homework today. Sorry, I'm jumping around my own notes, which probably means I need to rewrite them again. The homework today is to pick a target time and a baseline time for your meditation practice. Consider how much structure or routine and how much flexibility you need. That's the sort of place where we find our own balance on when it comes to the how long. And then you want to make that commitment statement, that intention. So put it together with an implementation intention. I'm mentioning this now because not everyone always tunes in at the end, but this can look like when situation X arises, whatever your cue might be, I will perform response Y, I will practice. And, you might also include the time, the location, any optional details like your why or your who, right? So when I step away from my computer for my lunch break, or more specifically, when a click of my laptop closing, something like that, then I will sit for meditation for 5 minutes to improve focus and reduce reactivity and become a calm, centered person who has an abundance of energy that can flow to loved ones and projects that are important to me. So this is helpful. You want to have a backup plan too, especially if your intention involves, if your cue is like another person or situation that might be out of a little more flux in it. And you've laid out this path to make it a lifelong habit. Who's ready to develop meditation practice that stays? I want to see that still that a couple of raised finger over here. Let me pause and check over in Facebook too. Yeah, so hopefully there's some enthusiasm and some excitement and certainly a lot of different tips and ideas from the retreat. And hopefully these are all the tools that you need to continue your practice. You're always welcome back here anytime to integrate it into your daily life. So we'll have a couple of those bonus sessions. If you have questions that I haven't answered, or you're just curious and you want to continue to engage, please show up in the live Q&A tomorrow. 9:30 a.m. Eastern Saturday, your time zone, 1 hour later than usually be. And I know if you're ready to commit and want really max support, you can join the Calm Mind Clear Heart. I'm also only offering this year, like it after the meditation retreat. I like following it in, and I like it leading to the end of the holidays, because that's the other disruptor. Summers and disrupt, sometimes those big holidays disrupt you. So the mindfulness so we can small. There's a one-on-one session as well as a small group. We live calls through Zoom. We decide the schedule of the calls depending on who signs up. Usually that's not been an issue so far. Everything's recorded if you can't make one of the weeks. There's also self-paced course with different weeks and some homework and some workbook, but you don't have 6 weeks to complete the course. It's more like 6 months. Excuse me. So I'm hoping that some of you will sign up. It's for you if you want to react less or more. Really want to make sure you can commit to the self-care practice. Again, trying to provide sort of the, it does stick. Start to stick. So then we need the extra 3 weeks to kind of troubleshoot things and that provide a little more support. And also there's the Seaside Meditation Circle, if that's of interest to you and you want to join in. I will be offering I'll be offering 2 giveaways. One today, the Circle and Bloom bundle of programs. And after the retreat's all over, I'll send out a feedback survey, and then I'll draw a name from the feedback survey who will get a free couple of months in the Seaside Meditation Circle. Lots of giveaways. The giveaway for today, let's do that. To do a rain practice. Oh, I want to see the comments that are over here too. Elaine says, I sometimes listen on YouTube, a side meditation to inject some wisdom from the day to Shi Hengyi. He's a Chinese Shaolin monk based in Otterberg, Germany. Being curious is a good thing. Yeah, absolutely. And just a pause in Facebook land. Not too many comments today, no problem. All right, so the Circle and Bloom is a program. They have lots of meditation for fertility and pregnancy. Nobody specifically reached out to me on that one saying, yes, me, I am trying to conceive. So I am but there's other things on there for health and stuff like that. So anyway, I still a lot of the names who have been showing up and who showed up yesterday, and the person who has, so congratulations, Kamal. You may not be trying to conceive with fertility, but I hope there'll be something in there for you. All right, so now we're going to sit and practice just a little bit, and we're going to do a rain practice. And one of the reasons I love the rain practice, it's an acronym, by the way, is that it really braids together those 2 wings, this idea of clarity, insight, wisdom, and compassion. And this is another self-compassion practice. In the past, when I've taught the retreat during this day 5 practice, I would do a loving kindness meditation. I might throw in a tiny hint of loving kindness if you're familiar with that. And so just a little bit of loving kindness, but here we get to I like to reinforce that self-compassion work. So go ahead and settle into a comfortable posture. RAIN is an acronym, and it's kind of like a few different questions. It's another thing I like about it. It's really drawing on some questions. So find a comfortable posture for you, and let's just take a moment to arrive here. Getting any pillows, blankets, supports that your body needs right now. Remembering to respect yourself and your body and start where you're at. And maybe just take some deep breaths. Just arrive. With each exhale, you can let go of any tension in the body or the mind. And pausing as we start to notice maybe how good it feels to do that. Even if it doesn't feel good, just to notice what it's like to shift into meditation. And of course, if you need to move your body around, maybe you do some of the rocking to find that comfortable posture. Maybe you tuck in the chin a little, let the shoulders slide down the back. Just take time. Not only do I personally think time with it feels really good, and it's a real act of compassion. You feel those touch points with the ground, how the ground rises to meet us. And just starting to tune in, closing your eyes if that's comfortable for you, or letting the gaze remain open and soft. Letting the past remain in the past, letting the future remain in the future. And just connecting with this moment, this breath. Sit and know you're sitting, as the teacher Joseph Goldstein says. Maybe you become aware of sensations in the body, or the phases of the breath, each inhale and exhale. Take some time to gather our attention, to train the mind on the moment. Maybe you loved the listening meditation and you take some pause to become aware of sounds. There's many ways in, no one right way. And in the RAIN practice, as you continue to settle here, I'll tell you, the acronym stands for recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture. This is how it's taught by Tara Brach, teacher who I love and recommend. Initially, Michelle McDonald, another teacher, coined this acronym in the 80s, and the N meant non-identification. We're going to work with the nurture version today. So as we start this practice, we might simply inquire, what's going on? And this practice can be a really helpful way for gathering insight and compassion with feelings, sensations, thoughts. Sometimes a great way to work with difficult things, difficult feelings. So if you feel like there's some mild to moderate difficulty in your life, it might be in the body, it might be an experience with another person, family, friends, work, might be something else, some personal crisis of faith or whatever that might look like. Just take some time to invite this moment of difficulty into your awareness. And we start by recognizing what's going on. We take this pause to be with our whole selves and all the things that tend to be there and go unnoticed. And sometimes things seem like a big, messy tangle, and we can't even tell what's going on. That's okay. Maybe you just note to yourself as you become aware of things, feeling overwhelmed, feeling discomfort. Maybe you're sitting with something that's also positive. Sometimes there is joy intertwined with grief, right? Whatever it is, without any judgment, perhaps just naming and noting what's arising as it's arising. What's really going on? Maybe you start to notice the dominant feelings or experiences. Perhaps there is anger or loneliness. What's going on? Recognizing, noting, just like a soft whisper in the mind, just giving this experience a handle by using the language to note what's arising as it's arising. And then we move into the A in rain, which is to allow. Can you allow it to be just as it is? This experience, this moment, yourself. And we can use language here as well to encourage this by maybe offering a greeting, not only recognizing anger, but perhaps, hi, anger. Maybe even a friendly greeting, welcome. Welcome, anger. I see you. I see you ache in my left knee, whatever it might be. Or maybe it's hard to bring up some friendliness. So maybe it's something as simple as using the just this noting. Just this ache, just this grief, just this boredom. Just allow it. Give it a little space. No need to fix it, manage it. No need to glom on and hold it closer, to cling to it, or to push it away. Just turning on the lights, recognizing and allowing. And then we really get to drop into the depth and volume of our experience by investigating it, how it is in the body. How do I feel this in the body? Where does this live in my body? Just being curious. Maybe you start to notice a place in the body. Maybe there's even a shape or a texture, a sensation. As we go into the investigate part of rain, we're really bringing interest and care, curiosity to our experience. Maybe we can lean into it a little bit with letting your body take on the posture or the facial expression that really expresses this difficulty. Investigate, not with the mind, not the story. Why did this happen? What are the causes? What can I do about it? How do I manage it? This is not a management strategy. Just being curious, playful perhaps. And then we move into the N of rain, which is for nurture. Perhaps you've uncovered some softer, more vulnerable place. How does this part want me to be with it? What does this part need? Perhaps there's a kind word you can offer yourself, or a little bit of soothing touch, a hand anywhere on the body, or holding hands, feeling you are supported, attended to, or a gentle sort of stroking touch anywhere that feels good to you. Maybe it's a change in your body. Again, maybe it's words that you might say to yourself. Maybe you offer some compassion. It's okay, sweetie. I'm here with you. Thinking of what you might say to a good friend. Maybe you remind yourself, it won't always be like this. Maybe you give yourself some of that loving kindness using some of the meta phrases like, may I be kind to myself. Maybe kindness to yourself feels really hard to access in this situation. So it might even be like, may I begin to trust I can be kind to myself. Finding the words that resonate and work for you. Offering yourself this experience of nurture, manage it, but we can still offer ourselves some nurturing in the face of suffering, face of difficulty. And then you get to just take a pause, take a step back, reconnect with the moment right now, the body, letting the practice soften, letting yourself come back to touch points with the ground beneath you. This breath arriving in a softening belly. Just take a moment in this after the rain to notice what might have shifted and how you feel now. And simply letting yourself rest here for a moment, resting in being. And as you hear the bell ringing and the practice drawing to a close, pausing to notice what this little moment of meditation was like for you. And then opening your eyes, moving the body, if they've been closed, whatever helps you to transition into life, maybe carrying that experience, a moment of clarity, a moment of compassion, these two wings to take flight, carrying it with you into your day. And I know I went a little later today. In fact, I have to run off to physical therapy. So I appreciate your patience and your presence. And I please feel free to reach out with questions. Come to the live Q&A. Keep showing up, and I will still be here. I show up every Monday, free meditation, and there's lots of ways to work with me too. So